Hi there, Stacey Ashley here. Hope you're having a great day. Today, what I want to do is talk about some of the challenges that people are still finding working from home, working in distributed teams, trying to find a way to be productive. It's very disruptive, and it has been very disruptive. And so, there are a few challenges there. So welcome if you're live. If you're watching the recording, then I would love to know for you, what have been some of the things that you've had to adjust to in order to be able to get your work done in the current conditions. And of course, there are bigger adjustments than just having to work from home. In some organisations, of course, a lot of people are now working part-time or they've been stood down. And so, of course, that creates challenges as well in terms of staying connected with your work colleagues and, with a view to going back in the future. But what I'm finding is when I'm talking to people that they're still trying to find their feet in the work from home situation, or where they're leading a team of people who are distributed and they're not sure how best to support them in terms of helping them to get focused and actually productive in their work, despite the fact that they're working in possibly less than optimal conditions. And, it's a disruption to routine as much as anything else. And also people are working on their own physically, as opposed to perhaps in a team environment where there's energy and interaction and those sorts of things. And so that's impacting on their ability to kind of focus and to bring their energy to their work and actually make progress. I'm just going to check my stream, see how we're going. And we are going, which is great. And I can see a few people there. So Rahulan, good morning. And for everyone else who's watching, I'd love to know how have you adapted, and how are you finding your ability to focus and actually make progress on your work? So as I said, this is something that's been coming up quite a bit. And I'm just going to take that banner off because I got in trouble for leaving it on the other day. Right. So what I want to just share with you is a couple of thoughts. Most people who have had to make this transition into kind of the work from home, or they're working in a much more isolated capacity. So even if they're in the workplace, there's not many people around them. And so they're challenged to kind of focus and kind of find their way, navigate their way through every day. And as the leader of a team of people who are, you're trying to obviously to support them and to help them and, and yourself, because, leaders are facing exactly the same things for themselves. How do I get into a rhythm? Because it's different if you're not used to working from home or you're not used to working without people around you. It's different. And so what I wanted to talk about is the importance of you as the leader setting the cadence for your team, creating the rhythm, if you like, that your team can work to give them that kind of that beat. So if you think about the coxswain in a rowing team, that they set the cadence so that every one of the rowers in their boat can work together effectively to get the best possible outcome, which is to go as fast as they possibly can. Now, your objective is probably going to be slightly different than going as fast as you possibly can, but it is about getting through your work. It is about bringing energy and focus so that people can be productive and they can be performing. Because, in a lot of businesses, they're still operating. They might be operating differently. Some are busier than ever. We need to have focus. So, and we need to have productivity. So what I want to talk to you about is, how do you do that? As the leader, how do you create a cadence for yourself and for everyone else? Well, the first thing I think is to recognize that it's not going to necessarily be that everyone works exactly the same hours or in exactly the same way. So we need to have some flexibility in there. But I think what's really important is that you need to actually create a basis for your team to establish their own routines. So a lot of it is actually just about setting boundaries and actually creating routines so people know when they're going to be working, when they're not going to be working, when we're going to be working together as a team with intensity and when we're not. There also needs to be things like clarity around the priorities. So it's not just about doing work, it's about making sure that we're actually working on the right stuff. So we need this combination of clarity around priorities so that our focus is correct, and then we need to get some intensity in the way that we work so that we have periods of high intensity, we have periods of collaboration, and then we have periods perhaps of more thinking, reflective work where we work not necessarily with that same kind of intense activity. And so you as the leader need to set that cadence, and that will be things like, what are your team routines? What are the things that you do each week with your team? What are the opportunities for the team to do collaborative work together? And that may be online these days. And so you create those elements each week. You set the expectations of what actually needs to be completed and by when, in agreement with your team members, because you need to be establishing that cadence. When do you get together to have social time? When do you get together for essential meetings, project meetings, things like that? What kind of rhythm do you need around reporting? Those sorts of things. When are you going to do your check-ins and connection with each member of your existing team, and even members that have been stood down, that sort of thing? It's up to you. You set the cadence of connection. You set the cadence of work routine. You help your team to establish boundaries. When are they working? When are they not working? When do they turn their phone off? When do they stop looking at email? All of those sorts of things. Set the cadence, set the boundaries, set the rhythm and routine for your team. Yeah, so that they can get rhythm and routine and discipline into their work from home situation, because some people are still struggling with it. It's not normal for them to be working from home. And so they need help to actually construct the routines. They need help to construct the boundaries, and they need help to construct the level of intensity and how that varies during their day and week so that they can be performing and productive. Let me just check how we're going with the stream. Beautiful. So I would love to know, what are you doing to support your team? What are you doing to set the cadence to help your team be performing and productive? Now, I also want to talk about the situation where maybe there are team members that are no longer operating, they've been stood down, and that sort of thing. There's still an opportunity to set cadence there for them. So how often are you going to stay connected with them? How are you going to support them find focus and routines in a situation where they no longer have active, work that they're contributing to? There are other things that people can do, and it might be about learning, it might be about volunteering, it might be about doing things with their family, but what are the routines that they need to establish? What are the things that they need to do to vary the level of intensity of what they're doing? Because variety is one of the things that gives us energy and the ability to keep going and creates momentum. Yeah. And at the moment, all of those things are really important for our resilience and mindset and all of those things, which are going to help us perform in whatever capacity we're operating in, whether it's contributing to our work team or it's contributing to ourselves, because we're not currently working at the moment, but we need to be ready for the future. So you as the leader need to set the cadence for your team. Don't just assume that people will figure it out. Don't just assume that they're okay. And the other thing is that over time, the cadence may need to vary as we go through different stages of, how long we've been in isolation, the graduated return to, coming out of isolation. The cadence will need to change as well. And so you need to be proactively thinking about what does your team need right now in terms of routine, rhythm, focus, priorities, connection. So you set the cadence And that's one of your clear responsibilities, to keep your team moving forward, to keep them supported so that they can do what they do best. All right, I would love to hear from you. How are you setting the cadence for your team at the moment? What are the kinds of routines and rhythm that you've set up with them, and how's it working? All right, have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon.